Hey everybody, what's going on? Hope you had a good holiday. Pretty low key, not much going on here. Thought maybe it'd be a good time to throw another non-metal LP collection on on the pile. Um, yeah, not much really to say other than it's been kind of a long, lazy day. Cold, rainy. Not been outside that much. Starting to get a little crazy. But let's get into this. This first band is probably one of my favorite non-metal bands, though they're not very prolific when it comes to new releases. And it isn't really the same band anymore, but I still like them a lot. That is Fields of the Nephilim with Dawn Razor. This is their debut album. When this band started out, they definitely took like a spaghetti western style motif and combined it with alternative and gothic rock. What I think put these guys on the map, obviously, was the vocalist Carl McCoy. The contrast of his dark warbles up against the jangly chords and stuff of the rest of the band was a good contrast. And the fact that their videos were very artistic and dark, that matched the music perfectly. But this is a great album, and this is a great band. I mean, this whole album is fantastic. Dawn Razor, Blue Water, Power, Slow Kill. The earlier stuff from this, I've got a bunch of the stuff on CD too, and some tape. But the early stuff, with a lot of English bands in this style back in the day, there was saxophone and stuff on it, which I'm not a huge saxophone fan. And it was kind of welcomed that the saxophone disappeared on this album. But if you're into gothic rock mixed with alternative dark tones, this band is fantastic. And as they progressed, they only got darker and more fucking sad. This is the second album, The Nephilim. God. Songs like Celebrate, completely a cappella song with, well, it isn't an a cappella song. I forgot. There's acoustic guitar and like soundscapes, wind blowing in the background. Very downtrodden and miserable sounding. Song like Phobia, it takes the jangly past of this band, and there's like a weird western country. I want to say country and western combination with the dark gothic rock, but it's so fast and energetic it almost feels like a metal song, but without full on distortion. This is an awesome album. Is it my favorite of the three? It's hard to say. They're all so good. The third album, Elysium, I do not have on vinyl, and honestly, that is another song on here, Moonchild, I think is probably the big hit from this album. They had a video for it, and among others on here. But if you heard the song Moonchild, I mean, that pretty much sums up the whole of this album. But where was I going? Oh, Elysium. That album to me needs to be on CD because the way the songs are broke up, and it's long, and it's such a long, suffocatingly depressing album that it seems like having to stop and flip sides. It might give you a a break from the misery, but God, it's such a good album. There's been a good many times that album, during certain times of my life, I could play it and just out of the blue, it just kind of brings me to tears. I know that sounds whatever, but it's that miserable of sounding of an album. It's so good because of it. Next up, we got an NMC Records promo for the Preacher Man single. This was in the off the first album. This has got Preacher Man, Laura 2, and Preacher Man Contaminated version. I saved a couple records from the radio station in town before they went full on jazz, which was a bunch of metal records and some Fields of the Nephilim stuff. During the beginning of the eBay era, when it first started, I was searching for Merciful Fate and King Diamond stuff, and as many Fields of the Nephilim singles and artifacts that I could find. I kind of ran out of gas on that as it went. They started getting more and more expensive. I mean, there's quite a collector hub when it comes to Fields of the Nephilim. And but anyway, here's some of the stuff I've earned over the years. This is Blue Water 12-inch. If I can get it out of the sleeve. This has Blue Water, In Every Dream Home a Heartache, In Every Dream Home a Heartache, and Blue Water. Really, just about anything I can get my hands on by this band, I'm going to get it just for the fact that it's so good. And I'm never really not in the mood to listen to this, to be honest with you. Next up, this is the another NMC promo that I rescued, I think for $1. And it sucks there's writing all over this shit. But this is the Moonchild 12-inch. Someone made Carl into the Tin Man, as you can see. Someone that was bored at work. And there's a little thought bubble that says, if I only had a heart, and oh yeah, WNMC. We only gave this 3 stars, which, I don't know. Anyway, there's 2 songs on here. Moonchild, the Longevity Mix, and Moonchild, the Unsealed Mix. But there's also the song Shiva, which on the full length, on the Nephilim full length, that song was omitted from the vinyl, but is on the CD release. But, you know, this is a good single. Like I said, I wish it didn't have fucking writing and stuff all over it. Next up. It's a great song. This is a great single, actually. This is Fields of the Nephilim with a Psychonaut. This was on, well, this is a single, obviously, but the live album Earth Inferno, that song, I think, was the first time I heard that song, was on that. Of course, it wasn't on any of the full lengths. It was only on a single. This has Psychonaut and Celebrate, which is also during the Nephilim era. Cool label. Again, nothing new to report here. They hadn't gone into full-on dreamy, heroin-induced sounding depression yet, but it was coming. And this is about the era right here where it starts to hit. This is Fields of the Nephilim, the Summerland single. This is a gatefold. This has got Summerland, Blue Water Live, The Watchmen Live, and Phobia Live. Recorded live at... I don't know, I can't read the fucking font. My eyes are so bad. Awesome. That's one thing I liked about like this early, or these UK singles. I mean, look at Iron Maiden. How many singles did Iron Maiden have? And every one of them had something special on it. These are kind of the same thought process. There's, you know, whether it's one song from an album, then with a different mix, and maybe some like live thing or a song that wasn't on anything else. I totally dig that shit. This here is Fields of the Nephilim, For Her Light. This has For Her Light and Submission, Non-Resistance. Same thing on both sides. Yeah. I don't know what more to say that I haven't already said about this band other than they're amazing and I love this stuff. There are more singles that I'm missing, and you know, if someone's got it laying around, you want to get rid of it, maybe hit me up. We'll see if we can work out a trade or something. I got one more here. This is when they started to big lineup change. This may have been around, well, this is still Fields of the Nephilim. They tried to reunite when and they put out an album under the name Nephilim, and it was called Zune. They took the Fields of the Nephilim motif or style and added more metal, industrialized metal to it. Sounds like that would be a bad idea, but it was a good album. I mean, obviously, so had Carl McCoy sing, and his voice is fucking great. But this is a single, a 10-inch single, One More Nightmare, Trees Come Down AD, and Dark Cell AD. In the timeline, I don't know exactly how or where this fell. It's on Jungle Records, so it was before the final blow up of the lineup. If it didn't, I think Tony Pettit came back with Carl, and with whatever band they had, other members, they enlisted some new guys, and this reunion was a product. It's still good. I still like it. But this one's not getting spun a whole hell of a lot, although still worth having. Next up, Front 242, or 242. I always said Front 242. Had a better ring to it. This is a Wax Trax single. This is Headhunter, I believe. It comes with a order form. Yep, this is Headhunter. And Welcome to Paradise. Front 242, German industrial, early industrial music, very dancey and singular. There's not a lot of layering and depth on this stuff. It all kind of boils down to catchy, simple lines, catchy beats, catchy hooks. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing really mind-blowing or anything, but for the time it was fun, and as they progressed, they got a little more in-depth. I've got several others by them, Upheaval, which I don't like, and the one before it, Tyranny for You, which is a great album. Definitely, if you're into dancey industrial, check that stuff out. Next up, one of my favorite English punk bands, Charged GBH, with Leather Bristle, Studs, and Acne. I got this. There's a record store that opened up in Traverse here, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. They had this sitting on a shelf, and looks like it's been slid down the road maybe once or twice, but it's on clay pressing. It's a great album, or single, or whatever the hell you want to call it. It was reissued with another couple singles, and it is now called Leather Bristles, Snow Survivors, and Sick Boys. I'm sure you can see the similarities and the difference. This is probably my favorite GBH album. Side one of this is fucking great. Race Against Time, Knife Edge, Lycanthropy, Necrophilia, State Executioner, Dead on Arrival, and Generals. I mean, that is a perfect shot of these guys. If you're gonna, these guys and Exploited were out around the same time. Both bands are still going, and but these guys to me just seemed a little more thought out and put together than the Exploited. The Exploited had an element of flying by the seat of their pants. Maybe not the best musicians. I don't know. There's elements of that here, but they just seemed a lot more put together to me. I really like their stuff. Next up is City Baby's Revenge, 101 Ways to Kill a Rat. This one has got Diplomatic Immunity, a Drugs Party in 526, Vietnam Blues, City Baby's Revenge, High Octane Fuel. High Octane Fuel. Anyway, another good album. I don't like this one as much as the last one I showed, but it's very good. This here is a great single. One of my favorites by them as well. Oh No, It's GBH Again. It's got Malice in Wonderland, Lost in the Fog, Get Out of the City, Company of Wolves. As this band progressed, they started getting more and more of a metal edge to them. The guitars got a little more distorted, a little thicker, a little more complex. This was still very much rooted in punk, but the thickness of their sound started to beef up. And fucking love this. This is a great fucking single. Next up is another single, What a Bargain. This has got Checking Out, which is a great song. No One Cares, Infected, Tapuki Thunder. Almost looks like a Glamour Shots photo. Look at that come hither look. Anyway, another great album, or single I should say. This, of their more metalized era, is my favorite. Midnight Madness and Beyond. Actually, I paid a little bit too much for this on eBay because I only had the tape of it and I wanted the vinyl, and I got it. I just had to pay, I mean, it was under $30. It was probably 25-ish or so, but it's a Combat Core pressing. So it's probably an original pressing. Yeah, I'm assuming it is. But this album is heavy, well written. It's still perfectly, I mean, you could almost call it a crossover, but it isn't, you know, stereotypical crossover. And when I think of crossover, I think of Crumbsuckers, Accused, who were very good friends with these guys, went on tour with them a bunch and were buddies. Who else do I think of? DRI, you know, stuff like that is crossover, more energetic, speed. These guys maintained the punk. They never really got into, you know, super fast territory, but they maintained a punk sensibility while just embracing more of a metal presence, and that is highly prevalent on this album. Limp Wristed, Too Much, Horror Story, Midnight Madness and Beyond, Sam Is Your Leader, How Come, great fucking song. Blood, good way to end this album out. Awesome record. And this is an extreme noise album by Grunt Splatter. This is Passions of a Cripple. This is my good friend Scott Candy, his noise project. We started Worm Gear Zine together. We started Binder and Recordings together. Still love the guy dearly. This is his noise project that's trying to be active again, which is cool. There's just a one cardboard insert, no frills. This was put out on who put this out? Oh, Force of Nature Productions. This is Odds and Ends, if I remember right. One thing, you know, scraping noise is something I'm very rarely in the mood for. But honestly, Scott with Grunt Splatter, I mean, maybe I'm a bit biased because I know the guy, but I always thought he came at it with more thought and more process, and actually built his songs sometimes with structure, sometimes without, but there was always so much thought and readiness in this stuff. A lot of noise to me, I get the impression it's, you know, someone sitting at a table, you know, twiddling knobs for 30 minutes. At the end of their session, they're like, yay, that's an album, hooray. Whereas this here, you know, took months and months and months of planning and actually constructing these songs and picking sounds. And it isn't just scrape your ass against the wall noise. It's fucking nightmare-inducing dreamscape, but with noise, and very good stuff. If you're into that scene, you know, you probably heard of Grunt Splatter. Next up are a couple records that my dad gave me. Johnny Cash, the story songs of trains and rivers. This is Sun Records. Hey Porter. Heard That Lonesome Whistle. Big River. It's a good album. You know, kind of heard one Johnny Cash album, you heard them all, but it's a great sound. He's got a definitive country style, and this was a big one. I remember listening to this a lot when I was a kid. This is Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. This is another Sun. No, this is not a Sun. This is a Columbia press. It's old. It's something he's probably had since he was a kid, I would imagine. But you've all heard this. Folsom Prison Blues. I Still Miss Someone. Cocaine Blues. Long Black Veil. Great. Both of these records, like I saw the Sun pressing, I thought, oh, that might be worth some money, until I pulled the record out and seen it was someone administered sandpaper to it by the looks of it. Here comes another favorite band of mine. Non-metal band. I've only got 3-4 of the records. But I've got a bunch of other shit on tape, between tape, CD, and I have the collective box set of all their stuff. But that is Joy Division. You can't really see it. This is the 2LP collection set called Still. Let's see if it'll show up anymore if I take it out. Probably not. Factory Records. This has got a bunch of great stuff on. A lot of older things. I think this even has some Warsaw stuff on it. It's been a while since I've spun this. Yep. Ice Age, Sound of Music, Walked in Line, yeah, that's Warsaw. Dead Souls, which is, I know people would recognize that song. Nine Inch Nails covered that on a Crow soundtrack. Ceremony, Isolation, Decades, Digital. I mean, this is kind of a barren gatefold, but comes to heartfelt, heart-wrenching, suicidal agony. It is Joy Division in my book. I mean, they started off kind of post-punk and continued, I think, as Ian's health condition declined, so did his spirits, and it reflects in the music. Next up is Warsaw, Joy Division Recordings, limited edition collector's item. This is the punk band Warsaw, which ended up being Joy Division. This might be a bootleg. Limited edition release for fans and collectors. Not exactly sure if it was widely known who put this out. Maybe I'm wrong. The Ideal Beginning. Doesn't really say. If it does, I can't read it. But anyway. This is pretty much... These guys came a long way from this stuff. I like it. I like the appeal of it. It's like old school punk. I'm loosely calling it punk, alternative, whatever. But yeah, you could tell they were very influenced by their surroundings. They're a UK band. And in 1977, so this hit right at the height, the explosion of punk. I think these guys were a different type of band, and they went and saw the Sex Pistols, and they came out of there thinking, we can do that. And they did, and it's good, but it's not as good as what Joy Division became, in my opinion. Unknown Pleasures and Closer are two amazing albums. Next up is a single from Joy Division. This is on Factory Records. This is Love Will Tear Us Apart. Most of you will have heard this song because it was their big hit. Seemed like there was a couple tracks on this thing. Love Will Tear Us Apart and These Days with another version of Love Will Tear Us Apart. Great stuff. I don't remember where I acquired this from. I think an old friend gave me some of his records and this was in it. Good for me. Next up, and the last record for this update. Sorry, I feel like I'm whipping through these. I could probably do the whole rest of my vinyl for the non-metal in one sitting, but this is Closer. Factory Records. I mean, this was their last album. And this is by far the saddest of the sad when it comes to Joy Division. Heart and Soul, 24 Hours, The Eternal, Decades, Isolation, Passover, A Means to an End. Ian was having some severe health issues. He had bad epilepsy. And also a lot of relationship woes, which were mainly self-inflicted, I think. But there's a show about his life called Control. I think it's Control. It was great. Sad story. Very talented guy. Very weird talent. He definitely had a talent. Very strong lyricist, and his voice seemed very agonized and passionate, even though it wasn't technically proficient. And that's what made him. That's what made this band even more special. That, and I think Peter Hook's bass tone. He often played a Rickenbacker, which really has a distinct tone and cuts through on the cuts through their music so well, and adds that extra layer of uniqueness. But I think happened what happened. It needed to happen because, you know, New Order evolved out of Joy Division, and their first album, Movement, is very much in line, I think, where Joy Division was going with one of the other guys singing on it, obviously, because Ian was dead. That's an amazing album and very sad as well, but that band turned into a very upbeat, dancey, popular band, and I wouldn't have really seen a guy like Ian Curtis being able to steer that ship, if that makes any sense. But that's it. So I'm not talking about metal. To those of you that are perturbed by this, sorry. I'll get back there soon. Probably sooner than later. Like I said, I don't have many more records to show out of my non-metal oddity collection. But I've got some other things coming I want to get going on. I still need to do meaningful black metal albums. Some people have been asking if I would do like career retrospectives on bands like Manila Road, which I will do one of these days. I have to go through and revisit a couple of the ones I don't listen to as often. But Halloween, that is happening. I might do a Dungeon Synth thing if you're all into that. Speaking of, did I go past? No, I haven't gotten there yet. Never mind. And that's it for now. And I really appreciated you've all been subscribing and commenting, and it's been awesome to communicate and read and a little bit of back and forth and getting to know some of you people. It's been really cool. If you're watching this and not subscribed, it won't kill you. Subscribe, click the little bell thingy, and we'll see if we can build this channel up to hit a few more people. That would be fun. But anyway, hope you had a good Easter. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later.